Hey guys, what's up? We are back with another video today, and today we are doing our college football preview prediction on Minnesota. So make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Help me reach my goal of 1,200 subscribers before the end of August. We're at about 73 away. But guys, college football is 2 weeks away as of today. My Fighting Irish take on the Navy Midshipmen in Ireland in less than 2 weeks. I am so excited for that. College football is coming, and I am ready for it. Also, make sure that you go ahead and leave your comments down in the comment section down below. I respond to every single comment, so let me know what your thoughts are on this Minnesota schedule. As well, make sure you check out College Football Roundup. It is my channel with American Football Network where I talk about college football, and we'll have our weekly college football show on there. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button over there as well. Your support has been fantastic. So let's make our way over to the schedule. Minnesota starts off with a interesting first week. They play Nebraska on Thursday. This is a game that is about 2.5 weeks away. So it is. I'm just excited for the start of this college football season. You play this game in Minnesota. Nebraska, you got with Nebraska particularly, you got Casey Thompson, I'm sorry, not Casey Thompson. Goodness gracious, that was last year. You have Jeff Sims at quarterback. He was the transfer from Georgia Tech. Jeff Sims was a great athlete, but he messed up when it came to accurately throwing the ball or anything. When you look at Nebraska with this team, you lost Trey Palmer, your best wide receiver. You do bring back your leading running back in Anthony Grant. But overall, this Minnesota team is, I don't think, going to have too many issues. I think they will be able to get a win. I think it may be a little bit closer than some Minnesota fans want. But at the end of the day, I do think they get the dub. Then you have Eastern Michigan. I think that this game is going to be a tougher matchup than some people think. Eastern Michigan is actually one of the best teams in the MAC conference. They had a really good year last year. I think won 9 or 10 games. And this year could be a very similar process as they do bring back their starting quarterback as well. So I do think it is going to be a win for Minnesota, but by no means is it a guaranteed win for Minnesota. Then you have a road game against North Carolina. Man, this is one of the games of non-conference to look forward to. Minnesota, North Carolina. You have a Heisman candidate and Drake May. It's going to be an interesting kind of season here for the Golden Gophers, as North Carolina, they're going to put up a lot of points, but they're also going to have no defense. And also with your quarterback, we're just referring to him as the Greek guy. I have heard his name pronounced a couple of times, but I'm terrible with pronunciation, so he's the Greek guy until I really get that name down. But with the Greek guy at quarterback, particularly, he played well. I watched him when he played Wisconsin. I thought he played well in that matchup, made some throws that he needed to, and with a loss of – or some people have nicknamed him the Greek gunslinger, so that's what we'll go with. But I do think that he adds a little bit of dual threat ability that you didn't have under Tanner Morgan. And I think that could be very helpful. I think that you do have some good wide receivers coming back, and Daniel Jackson and Brevin Spann-Ford at that tight end position. I know he's not technically a wide receiver, but still, you do lose Mo Ibrahim. Ibrahim. I'm not. Again, my pronunciation. It is kind of up and down here, but at the end of the day, with this particularly, I think that you're looking at a team that you do have to replace Mo, and I think that's going to be difficult to do. He was your school's leading rusher, had 1,600 yards last year, really was a great back. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to this North Carolina game, I think it's a loss. With it being in Chapel Hill, I think that North Carolina is just going to put up a few too many points for the Golden Gophers. Then you have a road game against Northwestern. This is going to be a win. You should have no issues here. Last year, you did beat Northwestern pretty badly, 31-3. Northwestern, Pat Fitzgerald, all of that stuff. It's just a mess. their quarterback situation, I think, will be better than last year and Ben Bryant at quarterback. But overall, this team's just not in a good place still. They got a lot of work to do. Then you have Louisiana. This is kind of an interesting non-conference matchup, but you should have no issues. The Raging Cajuns, it's not going to be terribly cold, so I don't think you'll get the advantage in that it's cold. This game is earlier on in the year in late September, but I think overall, the Golden Gophers defense in particular, I think is what will be able to help them get the W in that matchup because I think their defense, I think Minnesota's defense is going to be pretty good this year overall when it comes down to it. So especially with that, then you have Michigan. Michigan is coming to town. This is going to be a massive matchup. And one thing that I will say that the Golden Gophers do have over Michigan is their wide receivers. Michigan's wide receivers are really bad, and I don't think that they have a lot of juice there. So it is possible that you could see an upset in this matchup, but I just don't see it. I think Minnesota has a lot more to prove before I think that they're upsetting anybody, particularly when it comes down to it. Then you have a road game against the Hawkeyes. Last year, you lost to the Hawkeyes at home by 3. Gives me a little bit of hesitancy, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, I'm going to trust that the Greek gunslinger is going to be able to get the job done. And I think offensively, Iowa is just they're pathetic. They're pathetic. You guys, as Minnesota fans, very well know this. If any Hawkeye fans are watching this, you guys know this as well. It's a pathetic offense. It just simply is. So I do think it is going to be a win for the Golden Gophers. Yeah, Michigan State. You'll get another win there. Michigan State, I think, is probably going to be one of the worst teams in the conference, if not the worst team in the conference this year. Minnesota State lost, or Minnesota. Wow. Michigan State. I'm sorry, guys. Michigan State. When it comes down to it, you lost your quarterback in Peyton Thorne. You lost your top wide receiver in Keon Coleman. I just don't see any hope for this team. Not only did you lose Keenan Coleman, but you also lost your other wide receiver that had a lot of production, and that was Jaden Reed. You lose your top 2 wide receivers, and yeah, Jalen Berger's back. But outside of that, this is going to be a struggling unit when it comes down to it. Then you have a home game against Illinois. This is a game that I was very, very 50-50 on. A big matchup in the Big Ten West. If Minnesota wants any chance at winning this, they have to beat Illinois when it comes down to it. And I do think that it is going to be a loss. I think that it is going to be a tough loss, but a loss nonetheless against the Fighting Illini. I think that the Illini, their defense is just going to be a little bit better. I do think Minnesota has a solid defense, but at the end of the day, I do like Illinois' defensive line much better than I do like Minnesota's defensive line particularly. So I do think that is going to be helpful for the Illini. And plus, I do think offensively, the Illini, I trust them a little bit more. And plus, Illinois won that game last year 26-14 in their last matchup. Then you have a road game against Purdue. I do think that you bounce back here against the Boilermakers. Boilermakers are going to have a tough season ahead of them with a big transition between Jeff Brom and their new head coach and what's his name? Oh, I'm trying to remember what their new head coach's name is. Ryan Walters. That's what it is. But you do have Hudson Carr at quarterback. I do think that's helpful. But this team has really been decimated by the draft and stuff like that. You don't have Aiden O'Connell. You don't have your top 2 wide receivers in Charlie Jones and Payne Durham. And I think that this team, they're going to have a lot of work to do before I think they make it back to even some of the places that they were at with under Jeff Brom. Then you have a road game against Ohio State. I think that this is another loss. It's really tough luck that the 2 games that you have or some of the games that you have, not the 2 games, but you have 3 games, but 2 of the 3 games that you play against the Big Ten East is Michigan and Ohio State. That's just 2 tough cards. I think that you lose both of them. I just don't see much of a matchup. Maybe the Michigan one's better, but a road game against Ohio State late in the year it's going to be a tough matchup for PJ Fleck. Finally, you host the Wisconsin Badgers. You've won this rivalry the past 2 years. You've kept the Paul Bunyan axe, and I think it is very possible that you make it 3 years in a row. I think Minnesota once again finishes with an 8-4 record, as that is what the record has been the past 2 years after the COVID-shortened season. So it's a solid record, 8-4, possible chance at 9-4 once again. I know it's kind of a little bit disappointing, but you have to play Michigan and Ohio State on this schedule. I think it's a possibility of up to 10 wins on the schedule. You also have a possibility of losing 5 or 6 games as well. So that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Hit 2 videos down below and the subscribe button up here. And as always, hope you have a great day.